What's up, everyone? Welcome back. We are jumping right into the next set of the Malamar Games because I'm going to do my entire playoff run in just this video, so we got a lot of content to cram in here. The first round, the round of 8, is up against Sempra, who is a regional champion, very strong player, and the format here is only Pokemon from the DS, so that means gens 4 through 7. Garchomp Talonflame seems like a very obvious core, plus Hydreigon as well to have Earthquakes around it. The difference here being between our teams that I chose to have a slow Trick Room core between Bronzong, Amoonguss, and Sylveon, whereas Sempra chose to lean much more offensive. He has what is probably an Eviolite Bisharp, and then a Rotom Wash as another Mon that can avoid the EQs. But he also has Sylveon, so yeah, it is kind of amusing that we ended up with 4 out of the 6 same Pokemon here. But they were so good with the restrictions we had in place. It definitely is what made the most sense. So yeah, we're gonna hop right into this game as soon as Sempra makes his pick. So yeah, with this first game, I've chosen to go for a much slower opening. I believe it was Amoonguss Bronzong opener. I was talking about just the intro to the video and completely forgot about what I was playing here. But yeah, should be a much slower lead, so my goal here will be to set up Trick Room. Now, the issue being that Sempra's leading with the Sylveon, and they may not want to set up a Tailwind if they see my Trick Room setter right here. So I think the idea is to go for the Spore, even though Talonflame definitely threatens a taunt. They may want to taunt the Bronzong instead, but they do not, so Amoonguss gets taunted, unfortunately, and that is going to be a dead turn for my Mushroom. However, both of my Mons should take this Hyper Voice extremely well, and then we can go ahead and set that Trick Room. They do get the Throat Spray proc, though, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. It makes my life a lot harder when they're throwing out these +1 Hyper Voices. Both of these Mons can take a +1 Hyper Voice quite well, but the ones in the back do not want to switch into it. I can go ahead and click Iron Defense here, and then I guess just Pollen Puff up the Bronzong. It's not going to do much damage to anybody. Like both of those Mons resist it, Talonflame doubly so, and Sylveon just has monstrous special defense. The issue with Pollen Puffing here is that Amoonguss is almost certainly the slowest thing on the field, and that means that it's going to go before Bronzong really takes any damage. Sylveon's going for the Terra here, so this is good information. Terra Fire, so I already knew about the Terra Fire, but the question is whether it has Terra Blast or if it's just going to keep spamming Hyper Voices. Brave Bird into Amoonguss, which we take pretty, not well, but we have a Citrus Berry, and they will be severely recoiled by that Brave Bird. So not the end of the world here. We get our Iron Defense up, so Body Presses in the future should be quite strong. And Pollen Puff, yeah, it's unfortunate that Amoonguss is so fast here. Bronzong actually being slower is big, but they do have Fire Terra Blast, and this is rough because I totally had the Fire Terra, and I could have gone for it to resist that, but I didn't, and now Bronzong is off the field. Yeah, really not in a good spot here, especially because I just completely didn't hesitate to bring out that Hydreigon. The good news is I do have Terra Poison on it, and I guess I'm just going for the Focus Energy here. It makes some amount of sense. You can swap out Amoonguss to get the Regenerator back. Yeah, it's pretty rough. I have Taunt, so I couldn't Protect here, and I'm in danger of getting hit by either a Brave Bird or a Terra Blast there. The thing is, Hydreigon is really big bait to click the Hyper Voice button, so more than likely they're going for that. We do our Terra Poison here. If we can get the Focus Energy off, then Scope Lens crits on this will be really powerful going forward. For anyone who isn't aware, any Mon that can carry Scope Lens, like any Mon that knows Focus Energy can carry Scope Lens, and then that one setup turn will mean that every move after that point is guaranteed to crit. And the fact that Sylveon here has Terrid means that we don't care about the bad typing. So we can Protect here, and then go ahead and I guess it's attack with Sylveon. We're in a really bad spot, right? Because under our own Trick Room, their Sylveon will underspeed Hydreigon, but once the Trick Room ends, they can just click Tailwind with Talonflame. So yeah, really not ideal, to be honest. Yeah, you can see me kind of panicking here. This game is going to be rough. I guess the idea is if I can swap Amoonguss back in and it can take a hit, then I will threaten Spore Pressure again. Talonflame doesn't have priority taunt, and there will be one more turn of Trick Room. So I can easily, assuming I live this turn, I can Spore the Talonflame and then have free reign after Trick Room's over. They go for Terra Blast into the Hydreigon. That makes sense. Since I'm poison, I would have resisted a Hyper Voice. But unfortunately, Brave Bird into this slot means Amoonguss is down, and this game is most likely over. So not a great start. We'll see if I go ahead and play this out, or if or if we just see the writing on the wall here. My opponent still has a full team, and if anything, my Trick Room hurt me this game. So not ideal, but we did get some valuable information about the Fire Terra Blast on the Sylveon. Honestly, with the one more turn of Trick Room, yeah, going for the double is really just the only viable play here. If we can get it, then we're still kind of in the game, but we do not, so... Sylveon goes for the Terra Blast at +1. It will 100% take out Hydreigon from this range. And yeah, that is game one sealed. As you can see, Sempra is a fantastic player, completely ran circles around me in this game one. Don't even get a single KO off. That is rough, yeah. And I reveal my own Throat Spray, which it's probably the only item you'd realistically run on a Sylveon, but yeah, still less than ideal, right? You could, in theory, run Lefties or Citrus or something. So yeah, we go ahead and lock in the forfeit here. Not a good game one. We're going to have to bring this back very severely, so let's go ahead and see. Sempra takes the first game, and I'm going to skip ahead to team preview here. So this time you can see I've gone ahead with a much more fast, aggressive lead. We're going Garchomp, Talonflame to start. Sylveon in the back, and then for the fourth, it's kind of hard to say. Hydreigon really didn't do much for me last game. This might not be the kind of team that I have the time to set up a Scope Lens with. But it's really a question of whether anything else will do much good for me. Amoonguss is always a safe play, to be honest. And it doesn't look like my opponent has any Trick Room on their side, so I'm not really sure what Bronzong does for me. Especially because if they opt to bring either their Dark types, then Bronzong will be in trouble. All right, game two. Let's see how it goes. And they go with Talonflame Sylveon again. It worked really well for them last time, so absolutely makes sense here. From my perspective, there's no reason to not go for Rock Slide plus Tailwind. I'm Terraing here to shed my Dragon weakness, my Fairy weakness with the Dragon typing. It'll still be a neutral hit, and I won't appreciate a Hyper Voice, but definitely better than it being super effective. And in going for this play, I effectively force my opponent to quit Tailwind themselves with Talonflame. If they don't, then they just immediately go down to a Rock Slide, so I don't really have to fear a Will-O-Wisp here. They could have Terra'd the Talonflame, granted, to avoid being killed and get a Wisp off, but I don't think that's worth wasting your Terra for. So yeah, as long as Rock Slide connects here, and it does double connect, so that is a KO on turn one. Definitely strong there. And we get a flinch on Sylveon. That RNG is actually massive for us. I mean, we'd still be in a winning position even if Sylveon managed to do a Hyper Voice there, but the fact that we got off with no damage at all, really, really nice. So yeah, now Earthquake plus Will-O-Wisp seems like an obvious play. Bisharp, one of these two probably Terras. Well, not the Sylveon. The Sylveon doesn't want to go Terra Fire. I could see the Bisharp Terraing here, though. Pretty much all the types that King Gambit would want to go. Flying, Fairy. I guess if it's Fire, then it would also be in trouble, but we will just have to see. It's almost certainly Eviolite, so quite bulky as well, right? And they are going for the Terra here, so almost certainly not in Sylveon. That would be crazy to go Fire in the face of a Garchomp. So yeah, it is, and Flying. Okay, yeah, so that's a really strong play. They're going to dodge the CQ entirely. Ideally, we do get a burn off on them, though, so I would say that's as long as the Wisp hits, would have been in a good position, but we're not, so yeah. That I guess that evens out for the flinch RNG. There was a 30% chance of flinching and only a 15% chance of missing that. Oh, and we just barely missed the KO on Sylveon too. That's Terra Ground and Life Orb, by the way. So that's that was a very physically bulky Sylveon. Yeah, now we're in a rougher position, right? Because that Bisharp threatens Sucker Punch damage onto us. If I'd just gotten that burn off, then the Sucker Punch absolutely would not threaten a kill on Garchomp, but now I think it does, and we have to consider what to do here, right? Swapping into Amoonguss is a pretty reasonable play. Rock Slide here seems really nice if they don't Sucker Punch us. And yeah, you can see I'm kind of struggling over this one, right? Because in retrospect, at least, I feel like swapping on Garchomp is the play here. The Sucker Punch just seems really obvious, but it looks like I am locking into that Rock Slide. And then on the Talonflame, Brave Bird to just take out the Sylveon. This makes some amount of sense too, right? Because yeah, if the Sucker Punch is coming, then you want to get the Sylveon off the field with that that tiny bit of health it has left. Turn this into a 3v2. I'd say we're in a pretty good position here. I would have personally just preferred that they had gotten the Hyper Voice off and that I had gotten my Wisp off, but this is the RNG we've been given, and it's not bad by any means. They cannot sucker the Talonflame before it gets a Wisp off. So as long as we can hit with a Will-O-Wisp this turn, that would be great. Both of their Mons don't want to get Wisped. So sending out Amoonguss here is really nice. We can kind of clear the way for our Sylveon in the back. If we can Spore the Garchomp and burn the Bisharp, both on this turn, then Sylveon is in a fantastic position to clean up the rest of this. Now, granted, that Bisharp probably has Iron Head. Maybe it doesn't, but I would assume it does. But if we can burn it, then it won't be doing that much damage. Remember that it is a not fully evolved Mon that is probably capitalizing off of its bulk here. We do get the Wisp off this time, so that's fantastic. Talonflame doing good work for us there. Next question is, I would assume a Rock Slide is coming here, right? So, no, just a Dragon Claw. Okay, I'll take that. And then Dragon Claw Assurance is a pretty good play. But because they didn't go for the Rock Slide, we live it, and we definitely don't flinch. I was worried about a Rock Slide flinch on Amoonguss. That would make life a lot more complicated for us. But no such luck for them. And now their Mon's asleep. And yeah, so now we can just kind of get some free damage off with Talonflame, right? Tailwind is gone. What we can do here is... am I swapping in Sylveon? Swapping in plus Tailwind is a move, but there is the risk of an Iron Head going into that Amoonguss slot. So what I like here, yeah, you can set the Tailwind for Sylveon in the back and then Pollen Puff Talonflame. If they went for Sucker, then it's not going to happen. It looks like they didn't, though, to be fair. They could just kill Talonflame, but I will take the free switch in as well. Wild. So with the Tailwind, Amoonguss is actually faster than Bisharp. I didn't realize that. But they did go for the Iron Head into the Amoonguss slot. So yeah, that was that ended up being really clutch that I didn't get greedy and try to swap Sylveon in. Yeah, so now we can just start smacking with Brave Bird and healing back up again. Not Tailwind. Just click Tailwind. Yeah. This is good here because if I can get Bisharp off the field with these Brave Birds and Burn Chip, then even if Garchomp wakes up, it's not going to one-shot Sylveon outside of a crit, and a single target Hyper Voice should take it out. Nice. So Bisharp should be within range of another Brave Bird. If the Brave Bird doesn't take it out, then the Burn Chip at the end of the turn, I would imagine, would. And now we're going to Rage Powder. I'm not sure I really like that play because a Rock Slide from Garchomp will just take out Talonflame anyway. But we're in a pretty good position anyway. I think the idea is just that we want to get our Sylveon in without it taking any free damage. Okay, Rage Powder goes off. Brave Bird happens, takes out the Bisharp. Great. Now we're in a 3v1 situation. It may end up being 1v1 if they just land a big juicy Rock Slide, but we will see here. I think Garchomp's been sleeping for several turns now, so it's a good chance it wakes up, and it does. And it goes for that Rock Slide. Okay, fair enough. Amoonguss does survive, though, which is pretty crucial, because it means that Rock Slide and EQ will not get the single target damage. And it's a Life Orb Garchomp. Good information to have, and it also means that Sylveon has an even easier time OHKOing with this single target Hyper Voice. And from here, it makes most sense to just protect Amoonguss, reason being that it's not going to get to attack, and as a result, we might as well just keep the spread damage like diluted from Garchomp's side. But we're actually faster with the Tailwind up, so yeah, we get the Hyper Voice off, and that is a Game 2 win for us. So we're going into the deciding game, and I'm going to go ahead and skip directly to Team Preview. Okay, so this time we have to ask ourselves, are we going to go slow again and try to throw my opponent off, or are we going to stick to what works, right? I would personally say that going with what works is the safest here. I'm not sure that the Scope Lens Hydreigon really does much for us, and I'm not sure that our Trick Room mode really does much for us either, because my opponent also has a Sylveon, which could well be slower than our own. We never really got to see the two of them interact without Tailwind or Trick Room being there. Yeah, so I'm not really sure Trick Room really does anything for us. Bronzong, if it got to set up some Iron defenses, might be something. Maybe Terra Fire plus Iron defense. But it looks like I'm just going back to All Reliable here. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so we're locked in. Let's jump into this deciding game. All right, so this time Rotom Hydreigon. That is a big switch up from the last two games. So, yeah, realizing that leading with Talonflame into my Garchomp, probably a bad idea. At this point, I'm pretty scared of a Wisp coming out from the Rotom. It could just Hydro Pump Talonflame as well, and then Hydreigon can also click Draco into Garchomp. So there's a lot of danger to my big attacker here. Looks like I'm swapping in Amoonguss. In retrospect, honestly, Sylveon seems like the safer switch, since both of these are special attackers. It would take any hit fairly well, and if it's a Draco Meteor, it would 100% absorb it. So, yeah, I think that was probably the better play here, but a swap plus a Tailwind is not bad at all. Yeah, I think Sylveon was the better switch. We probably fumbled this a bit. We'll see, though. Amoonguss having the Citrus Berry and the Regenerator means that even if it takes heavy damage, as long as it doesn't faint, this isn't the end of the world. And they're going for the Terra here, so at least we get to bait it out onto the Hydreigon. So it's Terra Steel, and this is kind of troublesome because if it's Terra Steel, it's probably packing Flash Cannon, which is really bad news for my Sylveon. The good news is that we are Fire and Terra Blast, so with the speed control from the Tailwind, we could blast it. Yeah, and it did do Draco right there, right? So that a Sylveon there would have been a fantastic switch in. Now, granted, the Rotom here threatening Hydro Pump does kind of, speaking of, threaten my plans to blast it with a Fire Terra Blast, right? We do have Amoonguss here as redirection, though, and it can't really touch Sylveon. So we're bringing it in here. I think the obvious play would be to Rage Powder Hyper Voice, or Rage Powder Fire Terra Blast. Looks like I'm going for a Protect, potentially, which is greedy, but it could be good, right? I'm just going for the Hyper Voice. Wow, okay. This was kind of ballsy, to be honest. Just a single Flash Cannon from Hydreigon would do serious work here. But we're kind of banking on Sempra knowing that, right? This is a bit of a read play. If they protect the Hydreigon or swap it out, then getting the free +1 off of my Throat Spray would be really big. Yeah, sometimes you have to make reads like this. And me watching as a spectator right now, don't really have the balls to do it, but apparently me playing the set did. So yeah, they do swap out. We are getting this free Hyper Voice off of that Talonflame would have been an amazing switch in had I clicked Fire Terra Blast. Now I'm kind of regretting protecting Amoonguss, because I can't burn it now into the Talonflame, but We got our Hyper Voice off. I'm not going to do much in the Talonflame, but we have our +1 now. So we're definitely in a rough spot because we've already lost a Mon and our Amoonguss is under half health. I could swap in Garchomp, but it is kind of obvious. I guess I'm going to go for it anyway. Yeah, at this point, this play makes some amount of sense. It would not be outlandish for Sempra to read that switch in and click a Wisp into the slot and just paralyze my Garchomp from this. Not literally paralyze, but invalidate it. Instead, they go for the Brave Bird, which does a lot of damage. So not really a terrible play from them either. That is probably just safe and accounts for a lot. But this is great because their Talonflame has not clicked Tailwind. And it is definitely in range of any attack. So they're not going to get to from this point. And they click Hydro Pump too. Does Garchomp take it is the question, and he does. Now the problem is I am Life Orb. I will take 18 damage per attack, and I have 21, so I can attack one more time, or 2 more times rather, before dying. You gotta use your hit points. So we're going to attack while I still have speed control here. Now, Rock Slide plus Hyper Voice is a bit risky too. I think that Dragon Claw plus Hyper Voice would have been a lot safer. They swap out the Talonflame anyway, which makes a lot of sense, right? You can preserve that Tailwind for the late game. That's very good. Garchomp is a decision though. It makes some amount of sense because if I had clicked Dragon Claw, then yes, I'd have killed Garchomp, but the Life Orb plus the Rough Skin would actually take out my Garchomp. So that's some pretty Galaxy Brain stuff there. But instead, I think this Hyper Voice is just going to kill their Garchomp. So we get that free kill in exchange for the Talonflame that we lost turn 1. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, cool. So Sylveon doing work for us here. And our Tailwind's gone. So yeah, not a great situation. Talonflame is just naturally faster than either of the Mons I have on the field, so very easy for them to click anything really. Maybe Brave Bird isn't, maybe Tailwind isn't worth it. Maybe you just want the Brave Bird damage. We're just gonna have to see. At this point, Rock Slide plus Hyper Voice is the play. They're withdrawing the Rotom, which is it's pretty big for us actually. Hydreigon will tank this +1 Hyper Voice pretty well, mind you, because of that Steel Terra. But yeah, they go for the Tailwind. We get our Rock Slide off and our Hyper Voice. They will resist both of those attacks, which isn't ideal. But it will 100% put them in range of a Fire Terra Blast. The issue with that, and we miss Hydreigon. The issue with that is that once I go Fire Terra, I am vulnerable to a Hydro Pump from the Rotom. So we're gonna have to play this right or make some good reads. And Garchomp goes down to that second Bitter Life Orb chip. So all we have is our Amoonguss in the back to help us out. Single target +1 Hyper Voice does a lot of damage despite being resisted though, so I do like that. Yeah, so we're down to 2v2 here. I feel like the game is going to be decided in the next turn or two at this point. That Hydreigon almost certainly threatening a Flash Cannon into our Sylveon, so hard to say. It's also hard to say whether a +1 Hyper Voice would kill Rotom from this range. It almost certainly would if it was single target, but as a spread move, I'm not sure. So the play that I'm thinking of here, and I think it might have been the play I went for in the actual game, is that so long as that Hydreigon doesn't protect, if we go for Fire Terra and Fire Terra Blast the Hydreigon and Rage Powder away both attacks, then so long as Amoonguss takes both of them, a Flash Cannon plus a Hydro Pump, they'd have to read that. They'd have to not read us. If they went for Draco, then we'd lose. But if we can Rage Powder away a Flash Cannon plus a Hydro and Fire Terra Blast away the Hydreigon, then I think that Sylveon's fantastic special bulk should take a single Hydro Pump. Assuming Rotom doesn't have some kind of boosting item, if it's like Life Orb or Specs Rotom, for example, then we probably would die. But I can't see. Spec seems really odd for a Rotom, so we're going to find out anyway. That is the play I went for. And they do go for Flash Cannon. Fantastic. Okay, good. And Hydro Pump, so that is a dead Rotom, unfortunately, especially because it hits. If it didn't, we'd be in amazing shape. But now we'll get this Fire Terra Blast off. And it's going to come down to the calc of A, does Hydro Pump hit us, and B, if it does Sylveon take it? Because they put up their own Tailwind. Even if they didn't, Sylveon's quite a slow Pokemon, so even though Rotom isn't the fastest thing in the world, it probably still outspeeds us. It's very much a mid-speed mon. So yeah, we click Hyper Voice here and we hope. Single target +1. Sylveon just having a very high special attack stat. I think this should do the trick, but yeah, we're just going to see this. The whole game and the whole set, for that matter, will come down to this turn. Hydro Pump connects, and we take it comfortably too. Sylveon is a beast. Hyper Voice, and we take that too. So we managed to move on to the round of 4 against a really strong player. Thank you to Sempra, and we're going to move on to the next set. Okay, so the round of 4, we're up against Brady Smith. Kind of a legendary player, to be honest. They've been around for a long time. I think regional champion is probably underselling their achievements at this point. So yeah, I'm a little outclassed here, to be honest. The theme of this week was a mirror match. So we went back and forth choosing Mons, and we kind of just chickened each other into choosing straight up Palance, and then I ruined it by putting Squawkabilly instead of the Fluttermane. I really like King Gambit, especially in this matchup. So I chose to go ahead with try to center myself around that. I'm also running an Inner Focus Life Orb Dragonite, the idea being that I can just not be intimidated by the Arcanine and just blast things away with just a really strong like Flying Terra Blast right off the bat. But the other hope is to get a Swords Dance up on Terra Dark King Gambit and just hit things really hard, right? If we go Terra Dark, then we're not getting hurt by the Arcanine. Yeah, it should just be really good all around. The thing is that this is still closed sheets, right? So I don't know what kind of coverage and what kind of tech Brady's bringing, and you have to assume someone at his level would be doing something very good. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into game 1 and see how this goes. Brady opens with Palafin Dragonite. Okay, that's a really strong lead, and I go with Palafin King Gambit. Swapping in Arcanine here makes a lot of sense, and then going for Terra plus Swords Dance also good amount of sense too. Dragonite does have access to Low Kick, so the idea being that if it's multi-scale, we can Intimidate it, and then Terra Dark will reduce Low Kick to a regular 2x weakness instead of 4x. So if we do both of those things, then the hope is that I can just have a relatively free Swords Dance and start just blasting things with Terra Dark, Kowtow, and Sucker Punch. Oh, it's clear Amulet Dragonite. That's problematic. It's that's another way around. I went with Life Orb Inner Focus. He's probably multi-scale then. Multi-scale plus clear Amulet is interesting. It could, I think it might have been set up Dragonite too, which is terrifying. Especially because I've just given up my Steel typing. Close Combat Palafin. Yeah, I think I might have been out-teched this set. And Dragon Dance on the Dragonite. Ooh. Now, if that thing has Low Kick, we are in serious trouble. It makes a lot of sense, right? The King Gambit is so scary that you teching on fighting moves to it is a really smart play. At least I know that now. I probably won't be bringing King Gambit to the rest of the set, especially if that Dragonite reveals Low Kick on it. The good news is we know that that the Dragonite isn't Lumberry. So we can Wisp it. The other option is to do what I'm doing here, which is to E-Speed away the multi-scale and then blast it. Dragonite generally doesn't carry Protect, but this one does. So it's Dragon Dance and Protect. Oh, God, that is wild, honestly. Okay. E-Speed plus Sucker would have been so good. And then they Wave Crash. I'm getting red every turn here. Yeah, now we're in trouble because I've already burned my Terra. Arcanine's probably in range of a Jet Punch. Maybe not quite, but Jet Punch plus E-Speed it absolutely is. Whereas I have the Clear Amulet on my Palafin. Yeah, you can see I have Low Kick on my Dragonite, so I was certainly thinking about that kind of thing with the King Gambit, but E-Speed plus Jet Punch seems pretty obvious into my Arcanine now. And if I go for Sucker here, I would get undone by an E-Speed on their side, so we'll see how this goes now. They withdraw Palafin, that makes some amount of sense. For Amoonguss. And they go for low kick on the Dragonite. So if I had gone for E-Speed Sucker, that would have done the trick. Really just making the wrong play every turn. That's not good. Honestly, at this point with the Dragonite, with the at least we burned the Dragonite, so that's not the worst thing in the world. E-Speed plus Sucker again would have been a great play. It probably would have just killed it at that point, actually, with +2 and Terra Dark and the multi-scale popped. But now we're in serious trouble. I can bring out my hero Palafin and taunt the Amoonguss, but then just gives away the tech, right? And my Dragonite's mostly pretty useless without Flying Terra to make use of here. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and try to play it out here. And they still haven't popped their Terra, so this +1 Terra Flying Terra Blast could be scary too. Yeah, we can swap Arcanine out, get a taunt down to the Amoonguss, although I am revealing the taunt tech, so that's also a question to be asked right too. Am I so far behind that it's not worth giving up that tech? Yeah, really hard to say. Once Brady makes their move, we're gonna see how this game turns out. The Dragonite being burned is pretty much the only saving grace here, but the fact that they have the Palafin in the back is really scary too. If I can preserve Intimidate on Arcanine and get rid of his Dragonite, then we're not in the worst of positions. The issue is that taunting the Amoonguss doesn't do a ton because, you know, they can Pollen Puff back the Dragonite, and they just read it anyway. Now they're bringing an Arcanine. The good news is that both of my mons are immune to Intimidate, and we're about to taunt it, so we won't be able to burn either of us. So that's pretty big, actually. We do reveal both Clear Amulet and Inner Focus. This Dragonite can just Dragon Dance effectively away the burn. It is basically neutral now, because it's at +2/+2, and the burn takes away 2 stages of attack effectively. So, okay. We are certainly in a position. And at this point, Dragonite's best move on my side of the field is just E-Speed. I can't get my Terra Blast access, so yeah, that is rough. Going for the double into Dragonite, they can protect though is the thing, right? Wave Crashing Arcanine also seems decent, but they have the Amoonguss switch in, which also seems somewhat obvious at this point. But you know, a Wave Crash into a protecting Dragonite or a regular Amoonguss probably just about evens out anyway. Yeah, withdrawing the Arcanine makes a lot of sense. I'd assume Amoonguss is coming in here. No, it's their Palafin. Also makes some amount of sense, right? Both of them would take a Wave Crash very well. He's going for the Terra on Dragonite. It's faster than either of my mons for sure, and it's effectively neutral, so this is going to hurt. The good news is that at least my Wave Crash will be neutral. So whatever damage we take here, it will be the price of knocking out his Dragonite. Because unfortunately, I don't think Jet Punch would kill from that range. It's possible, actually. So E-Speed Jet Punch may have been a play, but if I didn't know he was going to Terra there, then that's rough. We at least do get the kill on the Dragonite, so we're not getting clean swept by this team, but still not a great spot. The other thing is, like, do we even have... Because Amoonguss still has access to Pollen Puff, whether I taunt it or not. And the question is, do I even have the damage to take down a Palafin while the Amoonguss is there? And to be frank, I think the answer is no. Arcanine would, but Arcanine can't get around Jet Punch, especially at its current HP level, right? So what really is there to be done? Arcanine at least intimidates, so yeah, we can do this, but the play seems kind of obvious too. Especially because I've revealed the taunt. If I hadn't before, then we'd be in a better position. But I also needed to before, or Arcanine would have burned me, so... It's hard to say. Balance v balance is always quite difficult, but it's especially hard when you just get, like, completely ran around like Brady did to me in this game. Wave Crash into the... And it's a pretty safe play regardless, right? Because even though Dragonite resists it, it was low enough health that may have taken it out from that range. And the taunt into that Amoonguss was really obvious, so they know just Pollen Puff is way better than going for the Spore. Now I do reveal, I can reveal Protect on my Dragonite here to attempt to get some amount of progress in. If I go for like Protect, Wave Crash, and then E-Speed Wave Crash, then that's something here. I don't really know why they went for that switch. That does give me like some shimmer of hope, I guess, because I could Jet Punch away the Arcanine, but God, that just does no damage, and it's Rocky Helmet on top of that, which is a really strong end of this, right? He knows that the teams are almost entirely physical, so Rocky Helmet makes a lot of sense. At this point, we could E-Speed the Amoonguss and Jet Punch the Arcanine, I guess. The real issue just is that Palafin in the back, right? Is that it, unless we just immediately vaporize both of these Mons, the full health Palafin alone kind of just bodies us. Yeah, I think Jet Punch has to happen, though, just because if not, Arcanine gets a Wisp off. It should be faster than us. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I went for a speedy Palafin here. But they just go for E-Speed, so between, and my Life Orb chip is really going to hurt me here. Just barely live here, and then the Pollen Puff probably takes us out. And Wave Crash was completely unnecessary. I guess I was trying to read a swap into the Palafin, potentially. If they'd gone for that, then, you know, we'd potentially take it out. But yeah, Pollen Puff will now take out my Dragonite, which is a hilarious statement, but true in this case. And from this point, it is pretty much hopeless. So I'm kind of just waiting for Past Rowan to lock in the forfeit here, and we can go ahead and jump into Game 2 of this set. Honestly, considering how badly it started, I was kind of proud of myself for even getting it down to 2 Mons left. But yeah, definitely not great. It was kind of commanding from the beginning. So let's go ahead and jump into team preview of Game 2 and see how we did there. So yeah, this time I'm going for the same lead that Brady did, actually, with Palafin plus Dragonite. I now know that he has CC on his Palafin, low kick on his Dragonite. It wouldn't surprise me even if his own King Gambit had low kick. So all of that to say that I don't think King Gambit is the play, even though I was really hoping to bank on it in this matchup when I got rid of Fluttermane for Squawkabilly. So the bigger hope here is that we're going to go with our other bit of like kind of tech here, is that have Dragonite and Palafin just go all out offensive in the beginning and give my Dragonite the Terra from the beginning as well, I think is the big idea. Because the Life Orb made that E-Speed actually chunk pretty well, but not enough, right? If we get the big double stab attack plus the Life Orb and ignore Intimidate entirely, then we're in a much better position. We both go for the same thing here. Question is, what is Brady going to go for? The Protect on Dragonite is scary like last game. You have to wonder whether he's going to do it again. And I lock in the... This is kind of an interesting play. I'm going to break the multi-scale on his Dragonite and then do a Terra Blast on his on the Palafin slot. But he very great switch to bring in King Gambit there. I do have low kick on my Dragonite, so that's nice. And he's going for the Terra on his Dragonite, which means that we're going to get some decent damage off with this Jet Punch. But I just really wish I doubled his Dragonite. That would have done fantastic. Oh no, sorry, that's my Terra, not his. Yeah, God, my Dragonite's faster too before he gets Dragon Dance off, so that would have been amazing. And once again, just reads me from turn 1, right? Like I don't really know what there was to be done there. And the real problem too is that I'm Life Orb and I'm Inner Focus, so I don't have a multi-scale to protect me. Now my Dragonite's going to eat this big +1 Terra Blast here. And I don't want to swap in Arcanine because I know his Dragonite has a Clair Amulet and it'll just give his King Gambit a boost. But now that his Dragonite's +1 speed, we are in big trouble. So I think the idea here is to swap in the Amoonguss to get potential redirection the following turn. The Dragonite's an absolute menace on his side of the field. Of course, this assumes that he doesn't just go for a big Terra Blast into that Amoonguss slot, right? I think Brady just definitely chose the better Dragonite set. Clair Amulet plus Dragon Dance is really cool, and obviously it doesn't do well into every matchup, which is why it never saw play in like the real meta. But in this format, where he knows what he's fighting against, it's really quite nice. It ignores Intimidate. It can basically just boost its way through through any burns, and after that point, it can just stay Dragon as long as it needs to. Luckily, he does go for the Kowtow into Amoonguss and into an attack with Dragonite into my Dragonite's Protect. So we can do this, and then the question is whether I want to Low Kick or Terra Blast. His multi-scale's broken, so Terra Blast could potentially pick up a KO here. But it looks like I'm really hovering over that Low Kick. In retrospect, that seems like a mistake, because while the King Gambit is obviously scary, I don't think that it is as scary as the +1 Dragonite is hitting over there. But on the other hand, a Protect could have come out. It didn't, though. So yeah, we're probably going to take out this King Gambit, but at the expense of not taking out their Dragonite. The good news, at least, is that my Dragonite is going to live to fight another day here. So we basically traded an Amoonguss for the King Gambit. We're not in a terrible position. The question is whether to go Arcanine or Palafin, and at this point it does seem like Palafin is the play. What we could do is Jet Punch plus E-Speed, potentially, into his Flying Dragonite, but he has an Amoonguss, and that probably seals it, to be honest. Because Rage Powder here makes my life really, really unhappy. I can go for the Taunt and then maybe a Protect on my Dragonite. E-Speed into his also makes some amount of sense because it would ignore the Rage Powder. Ooh, that's an interesting decision on my part. Yeah, this is just going to blast me down without the multi-scale. I think I did just Protect last turn, right? So, no, I didn't Protect last turn. I just low kicked. So yeah, protecting the Dragonite really would have been a better play there. Wave Crash here could be big, but it's not enough to pick up the Dragonite. And now I just get Spored, or he Pollen Puffs. But now we are stuck with our last two Mons. They can always swap out Amoonguss for their Palafin, which is still in the back, looking very dangerous. I think the game was... That last turn was really pivotal. Had I protected my Dragonite and gone for Taunt on Amoonguss or Wave Crash into Dragonite, either one of those would have been really big. Taunt on Amoonguss would definitely be better to stop them from having redirection, right? Because if I have the Taunt on Amoonguss, then I can always go for Jet Punch plus E-Speed the following turn. Now they can safely Rage Powder, and they call my play really well, so. Unfortunate to say the least, but I think that will just about do it at this point because they have their own Palafin in the back. So it's just a matter of whether I choose to play it out here. Unfortunately, they can just Rage Powder and Flying Terra Blast away. So yeah, I think at this point this was me typing the GG to Brady in the Discord window. Yeah, that's the end of my Malamar run. We went out in the round of 4. Brady still needs to play Joe UX9 in the finals. So I'm really proud of how well I did. I'm really proud of all the awesome players I got to play against, and it was a great experience. Thank you so much to Bruno for organizing the league, and I'm excited to get back to making normal content in Reg C, or Reg D rather. So until next time.